entrepreneurs and professionals of Tampa Bay. Welcome to your hour for getting the information, the tools, and the connections for elevating your business. Welcome to Getting the Edge with Kelly Wilson. And here's your host, Kelly Wilson.
Welcome to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thank you so much for being with us today. Getting the Edge is a wonderful opportunity to bring on business owners and community leaders in our community to talk about their products and services. But ultimately, our niche is sharing stories. We want to learn about their journey and really get to know them more on a personal level. And I'm a firm believer that we can learn so much from each other's journey. Getting the Edge is a product of Edge community. Edge Business Magazine is another one of our great products. Hopefully you've subscribed to the magazine by now. If you have not, please go to the website and subscribe. You can get your personal printed copy delivered directly to your home or office. Our last issue was our first annual celebration of women. A phenomenal opportunity to highlight 10 women on the front cover, but then many others throughout. So again, you can check that out online. You can even subscribe to our weekly newsletters. Edge provides platforms to educate, unite, and promote and connect our business community. So definitely get involved. For more information, you can email us at info@edgebusinessmagazine.com. So excited about our upcoming issue, which will launch. It's our New Year issue that will launch in January. And it is a phenomenal opportunity. It's been really a lot of fun and an amazing opportunity to meet and bring together so many amazing leaders in our community. They're all nonprofit focused, and we're really looking forward to sharing their stories behind the organizations and sharing the stories of the individuals that represent these wonderful organizations, and really how they uniquely impact our business community and our local economy. So super excited about the upcoming issue coming up. So in the meantime, just stay tuned. Again, get subscribed to our newsletters. You can stay up to date with everything that we've got going on. Special thanks to Pilot Bank for being a sponsor of the Getting the Edge show and the Edge community. Thank you so much that your support allows us to be here with you today. And special thanks to Tampa Bay Multimedia and WeBeam TV. If you're looking for doing your own, perhaps you want your own Getting the Edge show, or you want a podcast, a visual podcast, highly recommend Tampa Bay Multimedia, WeBeam TV. Reach out to the amazing guru of video production, John Gaston. Worked with him for years and highly recommend him. So, and super excited to be in our new set. We're getting comfortable here at the Flavor of Tampa Bay, located just north of Gandy and West Shore, and great venue spot. If you're looking for a place to hold any kind of event that you might have coming up, you can check them out and get some more information. So again, super excited to be here with you every week sharing stories, and we have a great show for you today. I am really happy to have with us the CEO of Alltrust Insurance, the Mr. Tim Love.
Thank you.
Welcome.
It's good to be
welcome
here.
to the show. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
How'd you get so lucky to have the last name like Love?
I can take no credit for it. in fact, it worries me about my grandmothers or great grandmothers, because if you were a blacksmith and you came to the country, they shorten your name to Smith.
Okay.
So I really kind of wonder what my grandmothers
Oh,
did that
goodness.
they shortened it to Love.
That's funny. I don't know that I've ever met anyone with the last name Love. It's unique. It's like.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you've got a lot to live up to, I guess.
No.
Right.
I don't even try.
I guess you
can't do it.
It was definitely memorable. It's really cool.
Well, thank you.
Lucky you. I always thought it'd be nice to, growing up, I thought, why can't I be Valentine? Or, just something really cool. And my maiden name growing up I was Wood.
Okay.
So, I'm like, why can't I be Valentine? Just something really cool. Anyway, it didn't happen. So again, thank you so much for being with us today. I look forward, just a great leader and contributor to our community, and I look forward to sharing and learning. We're all going to learn from you today.
Okay.
No pressure.
Yeah, right.
So tell us a little bit about Alltrust Insurance and kind of what is your niche there?
Well, we are a little bit of a boutique firm. We specialize in insurance consulting, benefits brokerage, HR support, benefits technology for employer groups. And while the predominant number of our clients are in Florida, we do have clients nationwide. We have them from very, very small to multinational corporations. the intent is to not try and be all things to all people, and to really focus on a niche and a business niche that we think is historically underserved, and really try and be best in class. We've been very fortunate. We've been around 26 years, and we're one of the largest in the state of Florida at what we do.
And going back to kind of having that main niche, and I talk to business owners a lot about that niche. What is your experience on that? And
well, I think it's hard to be all things to all people.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah,
Right.
I really do believe that, and I think that the rate of change in today's business climate is so fast. Ours happens to be very regulated, so that impacts it quite a bit. But it's really hard to stay abreast of what's going on without having some type of specialization. And I think that the speed of business today is so fast that you have to kind of narrow it out, and you have to kind of carve it down and say we're going to be really good at something than being average or okay or even good at a lot of things. And so otherwise you can't move with focus and velocity. And that's a critical component.
Yeah.
It's a critical component in today's world.
And I think, over time, it's taken me time to learn that. When I sold real estate for over a decade, but in the real estate, people would say, you need a niche. You need a niche, whether you're going to sell beachfront or condos or one particular area. And at the time, I didn't see that. I'm gonna live in the middle, and I'm gonna go all over the place. And I did well, but I could have done a lot. I could have done more. I could have done better, or been more successful with it, I think, had I learned that earlier on. But I think earlier on, too, we're so convinced that we know about what's best. We're not necessarily good at taking advice from others. We almost have to learn and kind of grow on our own.
Well, so you're an expert in communications. So you're an expert in journalism publications. I think everybody wants to do business with experts.
Right.
And there's a commercial out right now where it talks about do you work with this doctor? And they say, yeah, he's okay. I don't think people want to do business with people who are okay at what they do. I think people want to do business with people who are extremely good and have high levels of expertise.
Absolutely.
So, I think
that's why you hire and kind of partner and work together with different companies. So how long now have you been with?
A little over 2 years.
Okay. And so what's your background? Where are you, we'll start from the beginning.
Okay.
Where are you originally from?
I grew up in Clearwater.
Okay.
Did the kind of traditional go off to college, went to school in Atlanta.
And where did you go in Atlanta?
I went to Emory University. Okay. Moved back and got transferred around the country like everybody in the insurance business, and then came back. Oh gosh, my daughter was 24, so 24 years ago. And have been here ever since. And it was a very strategic decision to go into insurance. I was either going to go into banking or insurance, and insurance offered a car allowance. So that set my career up.
I guess it would.
Yeah, very well thought out, well-defined strategy.
But the different things lead,
absolutely.
That was a great decision.
Fortuitous.
Right.
Absolutely fortuitous.
And then so then kind of where did you start with, or what was kind of your main what main company, or where did you start?
Yeah, so it was actually one of those life lessons. Actually, I went to work for a company called AMI, American Medical International, out of college, and they were a Fortune 300 company that subsequently went out of business. So 6 months out of college, with about $150 in my account, I think I have this career path set up, and the company goes out of business. So I competed against another company that fortunately hired me in about 2 weeks, and I ended up spending 9 years with them, Lincoln National, which is a very large financial services company. But it was one of those, if you ever have quintessential moments, it's getting everyone called into a conference room across the country to listen to a phone call and say, we're going out of business. and you realize you have $150 in your savings account, you get creative and motivated very fast.
Right. Well, and I think it's definitely a learning experience. I mean,
Huge.
being able to then to rebound from that and think, and it's probably a moment, you're sharing the story, so it's
Right.
obviously a moment you reflect back on, where it was
absolutely.
kind of a growth opportunity for you. So sometimes I'm always kind of talking about through these hardships or kind of maybe these things that we think are horrific.
Right.
I mean, different, some good can come out of them.
Well, don't you? I'm sure you have a perspective on this, but don't you look back at times and go, "Well, that really stunk when I went through it, but I'm really happy I went through it."
Right.
And it's probably not apparent to us at the time.
Oh, absolutely not. Right.
You
Right.
know?
But because we don't know what we are going
Right.
to soon know later.
Right.
I mean, but in that moment, and no,
part of
I
the
think
journey.
that's one of the things that I kind of preach on is, if you can stay course long enough, you just keep going, right?
Right.
Every day you take a step, put one foot in front of the other. You don't have to have it all figured out, but as you keep going and you reflect back, it's amazing. You can then almost see, why, maybe not why, but I'd like to think why certain things happened, and then the course that took place because that did happen, and.
Yeah, I really believe so, and I think every once in a while we need to take a step back and think about those things.
Absolutely.
It helps shape who we are, and it'd be a shame to go through all the rough stuff and not reflect back and go, what did I learn from it? What was the good stuff that came out of it? So that those pensive moments when we think about those things, I think are really valuable.
Well, there's so much to be, and it would be a shame to go through some of this stuff and not, let it kind of mold you and just into more growth and
Right.
wisdom, hopefully.
Yes.
Right. And so then, as you progressed and then now being, how did you then or I guess transition into CEO of Alltrust?
Well, I was working for a competitor and had responsibility for the southeastern U.S. I'd always competed against them and had a tremendous amount of respect for them. There were a combination of things that happened. So one, I had a father who got very ill, and in my other job, I was on the road 75 to 100 nights a year. So I wasn't able to help the family take care of him. And at the same time, the founders of the organization, of Alltrust, were looking to move on to kind of the next phase of their life. They were the founders, they built it, they created this wonderful organization. But they were looking for somebody to kind of take it over from them at that point in time. And it, like a lot of things in life, it kind of happened that our paths crossed. We'd known each other for probably 20 plus years, always liked each other, always respected each other. And one day we just had the conversation. And in fact, I brought it up and said, where are you guys at in this? And unlike most organizations, I think from the time we talked about it to the time it was done was 10 days.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
So something pretty quickly came together.
I think when both sides are motivated to kind of make something happen, it's amazing what can get done.
So as a leader of an organization, and what is your advice on building a great team and bringing a staff, an efficient staff together?
Well, so I think it depends on where the staff is, where the team is. Companies go through cycles and they go through evolutions. So you kind of have that founding moment, and then it kind of takes it to a point, and then you have a next elevation.
You go through lots of those, right?
Yeah, you do as
Right, as
an
a business,
organization.
right.
Yeah, absolutely. You have growth, and you have stability, then you have growth, and then you try and kind of get to where you have both at the same time. But I think one is attitude and enthusiasm. So you got to hire the right people. Getting people to buy into kind of the global overall strategy. The third is you got to be a really good listener, because it's amazing how smart people are if you kind of listen to them and allow them to kind of voice their opinions. Right. But building that team is also about kind of old school, old-fashioned leadership. They don't want, as a CEO, I need to be the hardest working person in the room. And I don't need to be the smartest, but I need to set the tone. And I think when people see you putting in the effort and you driving the bus and you rowing the boat, whatever term you want to use, they buy in because if I haven't bought in, they're not going to buy in.
Right.
So I think a lot of it depends on the evolution of the organization and where it's at. But I also really believe that you can shape these things relatively quickly. We see it in a lot of organizations. We see it in sports franchises all the time. That you can change the culture, you can change the organization in 12 months to 24 months. And I think people want to do a good job. So if you show them how, lead the way, they usually kind of buy in and start to follow you.
You know, with your experience with the different organizations that you've been a part of, and I look forward to talking about some of the nonprofit work that you do as well. But so as a business continues to grow, and we're talking about these stages, how do you keep the values and everything the way you want them as you continue to grow? How do you instill those same values as you get larger?
So I think you have to. There's a couple of things. When you're talking about values, you're talking about core parts of the organization that are almost ingrained in the DNA. So I think you have to do a couple of things. One, you have to live them.
Right.
Two, you have to reaffirm them. You have to hire people who believe in them. And then you have to reward people who live them. And so if you're going to have a meritocracy as a company, you need to pay people who live that core values.
Right.
And if you have an organization that's growing, and you're looking to hire people, you really want to get down to those core values. And do they align? And so I think it's a lot more about constantly refining the message, making sure that the core values, or what we'll call corporate culture, stays the same. But you have to hire people who are passionate, hyper-competitive, want to win, and understand the role of the customer.
You know, I talk to a lot of business owners that are in that 3 to 5 to 6 year growth stage where, and even myself, going from being a smaller company and then adding on people and then trying to continue to grow from there.
Right.
And it's hard to step back and being able to, you want to provide the same quality of service that you're providing, but I guess it's all boils down to good people.
It's a big part of it. It's a big part of it. I think it's also understanding the impact of other parts of the business and the business community. I don't think any of us estimated what the internet would do. We're sitting here today talking to people on the internet. And so I think it's finding the balance between better, smarter, faster, leveraging technology, but still understanding there's an underlying relationship there.
Right.
Anybody can transact business now. Between AI and blockchain and everything else, you can do it all online. But people want an experience. People want a relationship. They want advice and counsel. They want a friend. They want somebody who's going to congratulate them when things go well, give them condolences when things don't, and be their partner. It's hard to have a partnership with something that's purely online.
Right.
And I think the dialogue is critical to that. So it's leveraging both and understanding what part of the value chain each one belongs in.
Right. Well, that's, I think, was why it was so crucial for me, as far as Edge was concerned, was to create. So many of us start out so lowly, in the sense, on our journey as we build, as we start in our garage and build.
Right.
And but it's funny because we've talked on the show often about how many business owners many of us are very independent people, but we all need community. We all need a cheerleader. We all need somebody to kind of be there and talk with us, and I think that's from whatever stage of the spectrum that you're in, whether it's a higher level CEO or it's a somebody out of college, or it's a business owner in that middle stage.
Absolutely. And I don't think there's any business person that would ever say we're not in a growth mode, right?
Right.
That's always where you want to be.
Right.
I think the challenge is for people like yourself or myself is where do you go for your own personal growth, and what is your mastermind group that you're going to talk to about your issues or bounce ideas off?
That is a great point.
That's a harder thing to do.
Personal growth.
Well, personal growth, and you know this, Kelly. I mean, you need every once in a while someone to bounce ideas off and
Absolutely.
be able to look at it from a critical eye and maybe a different perspective. if we ever think we're the smartest people in the room, we should probably retire.
Or leave the room.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Or get a better room.
Yeah. So what are some of the methods that you've done that you practice to grow personally, to experience that personal growth?
Well, it's so back to
and
the
mental
internet.
well-being.
Yeah,
I mean,
two different things, maybe.
But maybe so. And that's actually one of the things that that we're looking to incorporate into this upcoming issue is that mental piece of it. I mean, we can inform, we can share stories, we can educate, we can connect. But if we all have things going on. We have personal lives,
Sure.
we have our business lives.
Absolutely.
We're leading companies. We all have major responsibility. It's a lot. So if we're not figuring out a way to process all of that, then it doesn't matter how financially successful we might be, we're still not going to be happy beings.
No,
you
that's
know,
no
and
question.
being able to provide whether it's some information or we're still in the works with that, but we definitely want a mental component. Kind of just
It's huge.
Yeah,
It's absolutely huge.
yeah. So it's interesting to find from other people that, and I think I'm hopeful that that as we continue to grow too, that we're making it okay to talk about these things, because not everybody wants to talk about that side of it. But we are busy people, and it is a lot
Absolutely.
of responsibility. And the bigger we grow, the more
Right.
responsibility.
Right. And the more disciplined you have to be around kind of your owning your schedule and owning your own happiness and owning kind of the process. There's always going to be work to be done. And I'm never going to tell people, cut it off at 8 hours. If you want to be successful, I'm a big believer in outworking your competition. I just am. I think it's as old as time. But I think you also have to take some responsibility for how can you be your optimum self, and when do you ratchet it back a little bit, and what are the things that you can do that are good for you to allow you to get back into that groove of being your optimum self.
Right.
We were never designed to have, well, we probably were, but I'm not good at being connected 24 hours a day.
Right.
I need a break from my cell phone.
Right.
I need a break from my computer. I think the way that, you look at things like physical health, of what you put in your body and how you exercise it, the same is true for your mind.
Right.
If you're watching slasher films all the time, you're probably going to be on edge. I don't think there's I think
You're
they're
gonna be
completely
waiting, right?
parallel. Yeah, right? But, and you have to pay attention to those kinds of things. But in terms of personal growth, I don't think there's ever been more access to learning in the history of mankind. I'll tell you a great story. I recently had to get my car fixed. And being impatient, I'm walking around the lobby, and so finally I kind of go back there and I look, and there's a gentleman's got a tablet, and he's watching YouTube on how to fix my car, a mechanic, right?
Oh.
So, which is wonderful if you think about it, because he doesn't have to go back and get certified, he doesn't have to go to class, fix it right then and there. We all have to take that same responsibility for ourselves, and the access is there. It's sorting through, how do you want to do it? How much time are you going to give
Right.
to that? But if they can learn how to repair my car on YouTube, shame on me if I'm not investing in myself and growing and learning and everything else.
Yeah.
it's free.
It goes back to just how much the internet has changed the world, and that is, it's interesting. There's some people you talk to that don't know any different, right? But
Right.
it's interesting.
Yeah.
I actually am I'm happy, that I had the opportunity to grow up in a time when we didn't. It's great to see life before and life now, and
Right.
I am happy that I was able to experience life with the phone at home, and then running home and like check voice messages
Right.
or your recorder, at that time, but it wasn't such instant gratification. It was just a different time, a different way of life, and I'm happy to have experienced that. But who wants to carry around encyclopedias, right? And
Right.
I was having a conversation recently about that. So I welcome the technology. I mean, it gives us
great.
the opportunity to work from anywhere. It gives us the opportunity to have a business and work virtually, and and the information is just enormous. I mean,
It's hard to believe.
it's like us doing our show today. I mean, there's so many shows, there's so many avenues,
Right.
The TED Talks.
This long form interview would never be accessible to people even probably 10 years ago, if
Yeah.
we're honest. Interviews on television or any type of broadcast medium would be 60 to 90 seconds.
Right.
I mean, if you look at the content at some of the iconic shows, like 60 Minutes, it's an hour program of which there's probably 48 minutes of content.
Right.
So we'll actually produce here in an hour today more content than CBS did when they had months of programming.
Yeah.
And it's free and accessible to everyone.
Right.
It's phenomenal.
Right. Well, and that's, as when we even started talking about designing the show, how much time do we want? And I have learned just from doing, obviously Getting the Edge has been around for years, and we started out as on the radio, and I just learned from that experience, time goes so fast, and there's no way, even in 30 minutes, I can say and really get out of the
Right.
guest everything that I want to. And so, and some people will argue that, oh my goodness, an hour, who would sit there an hour? But it's there's a pause button, a stop button. You can go back, you can
Right.
get up, you can take as
Right.
many breaks as you want, and just continue to come back. But I think if the content is there, and people, again, they're going to take advantage of that opportunity to educate themselves. So, and so it's funny, I mentioned, so when we talk about mental kind of just well-being, and I think, one of the reasons you may do a lot of the volunteer work that you do is maybe to handle some of the stress that you deal with as being a CEO
Probably.
of Alltrust. But so tell us a little. You are so involved, and I admire
thank
you for your contribution to the community.
Thank
Let's
you.
talk about a couple of the different charities that you're involved in. The Ryan Neese Foundation
Sure.
is one of them, and I know you're doing great things in the community with that organization. So
Thank
tell
you.
us a little bit about what you have going on this week, actually,
Okay.
with the organization.
So this week with the Thanksgiving holidays coming up, we recognize that there are people not as fortunate as we are. Food insecurity is a big issue. I know you had Tim Marks on here and the great work they do at Metro Men. We last Tuesday and today, we will be gathering a whole bunch of volunteers, working with Feeding Tampa Bay, working with Metropolitan Ministries. Last week we fed about 300 families over at Lealman in St. Petersburg.
St. Pete.
And this afternoon, actually, we'll be up at University Community Center feeding about 1,200 people.
Oh my goodness.
And so the intent is not just feed them. The intent is to let these 1,200 people know that they're loved, they're cared for, they're important. Bring them in. They're going to be our guests. We'll be serving them meals. We'll also be having activities for the kids. There'll be family portraits for them. There'll be a band. And then they'll go home with food from Feeding Tampa Bay. And it's really about showing these people that in this time of year and in this area of Thanksgiving, we're thankful they're there. We're thankful that they're part of our community. The food insecurity, as you know, is a big issue. But most importantly, it's just to really love on these folks, to be quite honest with you, and brighten someone's day.
It's it's so sad to hear some of the stories, and been very happy and have had the opportunity to sit down with Tim Marks of Metropolitan Ministries quite a
Great
bit
stuff.
lately, and I've really been educated on what they're doing there, why they're doing it, who they're helping, and Tim had shared some of the stories of some of the families that they were helping. And wow, I mean, one in particular, I mean, a daughter was killed through a domestic violence situation. The grandmother, who was battling cancer and not didn't look well, was raising or trying to take care of the 4 children from the daughter that was killed through a domestic violence situation. And it almost made me speechless when I saw it. And all I could say was wow. And it's thank goodness that these organizations are there and different organizations, and again, in the whole nonprofit issue, it's been very enlightening for me to really learn a lot about these organizations and why they're doing what they're doing, and I, the opportunity to share that with the community.
Right.
Is very important to me, and that the further we get into this, the more evident that becomes. But just such amazing work.
Well, and so I'm gonna say something that maybe surprises you a little bit, but I'm also very selfish about it. And what I mean by that is you have to do things. You talk about mental well-being and kind of that keeping your edge mentally. I will leave tonight after working there for about 5 hours, more fulfilled and more engaged and gassed up than the people that I'm delivering food to. And so there's tons of organizations that do good things, and I like to do them because it's the right thing to do. And that story you just told, I mean, that could be any one of us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there's an old saying there, but for the grace of God go I. But at the same time, it's one of the things that jacks me up, and it refills my tank. And so while it's a good thing to do from a community perspective, it's also one of the things that helps me keep my edge.
Yeah. And on another side of that, I was with Jason Woody recently with the Lion's Eye Institute, and they are eye cornea transplants, and I really didn't even realize how that works. I look forward to showing that story. But just I became an organ donor earlier this week, and just through Jason's conversation, but what really did it is I read a letter that he shared with me that was from somebody that was able to have the cornea surgery and just he could finally see after all these years. And again, just so many different but any way that we can get involved.
Right.
And it is so fulfilling for us to do good and to give back, and
Completely.
and these families wouldn't have the support otherwise. So
I think I mean, to me, it's just part of being fully human. It really is.
at the end of the day, we're all just human.
Yeah, and we're all a car accident or a slip and fall away from being in that situation. And part of it is you also have to, I think, have a higher calling and a purpose.
Right.
I feel sorry for the people. I don't feel sorry for the people that I'm going to be serving today. I feel sorry for the people who don't have the desire to serve them.
Right.
Because that, to me, is they're missing out on a big piece of life.
Wow.
Those are the people I feel sorry for. The people today, I'm going to love on them and care about them and show them they're important.
Wow. So the other organization that's coming up, so you are chair of the Outback Bowl this year.
Yes.
So
it's an exciting time.
Yes, that's an amazing
swing.
Right. So tell us a little bit about the Outback Bowl. What is the purpose behind the Outback Bowl?
Well, the purpose behind the Outback Bowl is really about our economy is very hospitality-based, tourism-based. Traditionally, between Christmas, New Year's Day, fairly slow time. I know you recently had Santiago on, and he knows the numbers much better than I do.
Visit Tampa Bay,
yeah,
right?
Does great work.
Yes, they do.
But the Outback Bowl is really about supporting our hospitality industry, supporting our local hoteliers, putting on a great event that the community can be proud of, and highlight it to the rest of the country. And so that's kind of grown and expanded over years. We have the Big Ten Conference and the SEC. They'll be playing New Year's Day at Raymond James. You can get your tickets and after.
So how do you find out? Is it outbackbowl.com?
Outbackbowl.com.
There you go.
And we have a great media partner in ESPN. We have a great
So
title
it's
sponsor.
national?
Absolutely.
I should know more about this.
That's right.
But I did not. But I'm not great with football. But I should know more about the Outback Bowl. But wow, I didn't
30
realize.
plus years.
Is that right?
We have a great title sponsor in Outback Steakhouse. I mean, you talk about two marquee, perfect kind of organizations to line up. A local business that was started here in Tampa, a lot of success, and then a Tampa event.
Right.
And so we've been putting on for 30 plus years. We have the longest running title sponsorship in college football. A lot of people don't realize that Outback has been with us that long.
Wow.
I think we're in year 28. And
well, what an honor to be a part of that.
well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It really is, and
Well deserved.
Thank you. We've done the studies and we've paid people to do the evaluations. So since its inception, we've had about $1 billion economic impact in the Tampa Bay area. We certainly like highlighting in the middle of January, 70-degree weather at Raymond James Stadium.
Right.
And also what a lot of people don't understand is we've paid the schools over $150 million, and this year we'll donate over $1 million to local charities. So
That's amazing.
it's kind of a win-win for
Right.
everyone, and it's a homegrown, built from nothing. Like, this is literally something we said, let's create, and it's been extremely successful, and I'm really proud of the work that they've done. And to give that kind of money to charities
Oh, absolutely.
Every year, it's been tremendous.
So
Yeah,
those are
absolutely
your
tremendous.
two main organizations that you're involved in. Is that right?
Two of the main ones. I'm also on the board of the Tampa Bay Sports Commission.
Okay.
Which sense of theme, which again goes back to
You
hospitality.
like sports at all?
I do. And also growing up here, I recognize that if our hoteliers don't have good years, people lose their jobs.
Right, right.
If our restaurants don't, have good years and tourism doesn't have a good year, it's a ripple effect throughout the community.
Right.
I grew up in Clearwater. It was
Right.
a small beach town back then. So when I decided to get into the nonprofit world, I really wanted to make sure it was about supporting local economy, supporting local businesses. And the Tampa Bay Sports Commission does great work. Rob Higgins and the folks over there do great work.
Well, you've got a lot of exciting stuff coming up. A
Yeah.
lot of exciting events coming up
Yeah.
over the next year, and
It's
yeah,
going to be a lot of fun.
yeah.
I never believed, I had no idea how big wrestling was
I didn't
until
either.
we brought
Right.
bringing WrestleMania here.
Well, and the tickets went on sale a week ago
Oh,
or
they
just
did.
recently, and there's been so much talk and hype about it,
It's
and
the fifth most watched TV show in
I
the
had
world.
no idea, really.
I know. What does that say?
Yeah. Wow. And then with Super Bowl coming up, I mean, Tampa it's really a great time, and really Tampa Bay. I mean, just the overall community. It's just thriving.
It's amazing. It really is. I mean, and we have really good leadership here.
Right.
I mean, you've got folks like Jeff Vinnick and what he's doing in downtown Tampa.
Yeah, I drive through that construction every day. It will be beautiful someday.
Right.
But it's But no, we do.
And we
and
have great leadership. And I think Mayor Chrisman in St. Pete is doing some great things. So I think we're very, very fortunate. And we're
And Jane's great.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, she's going to do great things.
Yeah, it
I
was
think she's gonna
great
do
to
great things.
bring her and have her included in the last issue we did. So,
She's going to
yeah.
do great things.
Yeah, she's so dedicated to the community. It's I don't know how she does it, but
We really have been fortunate, if you think about it. Forget political parties and all that. We've had leadership that deeply cares about our community.
and has really come together.
Right. I think we're starting to see some really positive movement.
Well, it's really exciting. I know you. So is it Outback Bowl's New Year's Day? Is that right?
New Year's Day.
Yes, yeah. So it's
ESPN.
right around the corner. As crazy as it seems, I just can't believe this year is wrapping up. So going back and kind of just sharing, looking back now, let's just say, if you look back when you finished college or just leaving Emory or even in later 20s, what if you could go back and give your younger self advice? What advice would that be? Knowing what you know now.
That's a great question. So on the business front,
Or both, yeah.
Yeah, I would probably say plan more and act less. I think you're probably a little more impulsive. You might have a lot of information, but you don't have the experience. So when experience catches up with information, you're in pretty good shape. So I'd probably say, and I'm a planner, but I would say spend less time or more time being thoughtful about what it is you want to do. On the other, personal side, I probably would have taken that investment. I've always invested in myself, but I probably would have started at a younger age on the knowledge, on the learning. I always wanted to invest in my physical health, but it was probably my late 30s when I started realizing, you've got to become a student of your business.
But I think, isn't it, when we get to a point that we realize we can accept the fact that we don't know everything? And I think we almost have to get to that point in our lives where
Right.
we're on this, education and just information, we're sponges at that point, and we just want to learn as much as we can from everybody, from everything, from every event, from every life experience. But I think we have to get to that humbling point in our lives where we can accept the fact that We are not superior to anyone. We don't know anything. I mean, and we're still learning.
And that probably comes at different ages for different people.
I know it does. I joke, at 18, I was a mom, and I mean, you couldn't tell me anything.
Right.
I knew more then than I know now.
Yeah,
At least I thought I did.
At what age did you realize you didn't? Because I think it came late for me in life, actually.
Through this journey, really, of leaving the real estate, and then this just journey that I have really evolved into, that I've just embraced.
Yeah.
You know, everything hasn't fallen at my feet and lined up the way it's supposed to. Oh my
Okay.
goodness, I would have never imagined all the hurdles and obstacles and pivoting that I would have to do, but I have learned so much, and I think it's through that experience that I've been able. And I joked, Dr. Rebecca White with UT, we were having a conversation years ago. They've been contributing writers for us at times, but I said, she's like, well, what do you want us to write about this issue? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't have all the answers. That's why I'm asking you. Like, what do you think? And she just looked at me and she's like, Kelly, I don't think anybody's ever said that to me. No one's ever admitted that.
Really?
And I thought, really? Like, was I not supposed to say that? But I'm just always, I mean, I am who I am. And I used to be much more private. Through the years and through this journey, I don't just believe, well, I do talk a lot, but I mean, I'll share my story with anyone. I hope that through my story and through the stories that I can share of others, that we can learn and grow, but I don't have all the answers.
Yeah, that's an amazing spot to be in. It really is.
It really is.
It's liberating.
It really is. And then, because it's hard to think you know everything. Like, that's
a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Responsibility.
It's a lot of work. And you know what's funny is all the signs are there, right? So there's been literature going back to, since thousands of years.
Right.
That talk about surrounding yourself with smart people and Socrates and mastermind groups and all that. And I think we actually, as people, have to get to a point where we're and I don't want to say humble enough, but we're open to the thought that we don't know everything, because it's a lot of work trying to be the smartest person in the room all the time. Yeah.
Well, and I think even being humble in the fact that too, that you can, and business leaders all the time, we talk about, surrounding yourself with smarter people, just like saying leaving the room earlier, but I think it gets to a certain point. You have to be at a certain point with your own self and ego, check the ego, and being able to then bring in people that know things that you don't. And
it also probably helps to get a little knocked down.
Oh yeah.
To get to that point.
Yeah.
It will make you do self-evaluation.
Yeah.
That I think probably, if everything's always roses,
absolutely.
It's hard to.
Yeah, you learn more
wrong.
from being, getting knocked down and getting back up, and than you do just standing. And honestly, I almost respect more someone's journey that they continuously just been resilient versus everything just handed to somebody.
Right.
I mean, you can admire more what maybe someone's accomplished by overcoming and it could be anything in their lives, but overcoming them and moving on. So did somebody give you advice someday and it just stuck? Like, what's the best advice you've ever been given?
So there's a couple of things. One was early on, my father, he said to me when I graduated from college, he said, if you work the first few years of your career like most people won't, you can live the rest of your life like most people can't. And that's always kind of stuck with me, because the sooner you start, the better off you are.
Well, time's going to pass anyway, right?
Yeah, right. There's time value of money too, right? So I think that was a big one for me. I think I'm a big fan of Stephen Covey. And I think the writing down your goals and tracking them daily and tracking them yearly and monthly or whatever, I think is a big deal. And I started that in 1988. And, I'm almost OCD about it. If I come home from the gym, I put a tick mark next to the marks, so I know if I'm going to hit my number this year.
That's great.
So I think a lot of those things really impacted me fairly early on.
How else do you know, right? Unless you're holding yourself accountable and you have personal business, you have goals that you work towards.
Sure, absolutely.
Otherwise, you just go day by day, and
before you know it, the year's over and you haven't hit them.
So what about a favorite book? Do you have a favorite book or resource?
I have a couple of them, and a lot of that depends. So I think I read a lot. Probably the one that I've enjoyed the most recently, well, there's two. So there's Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And David Goggins is a former Navy SEAL, endurance athlete. He talks about his journey.
I've watched some of his videos.
Yes.
They are powerful.
And kind of almost superhuman.
Right.
But considering that he was 297 pounds or whatever he was at the height of his kind of depression or state he was in, and to see where he is today, where he just ran a 240-mile race, not in 38 hours or whatever.
Wow.
But that one is an inspirational, kind of uplifting one. The other one is by Jocko Willink, and it's called Extreme Ownership. And it talks about business lessons through the eyes of a military commander about taking ownership for your own life, your own responsibilities, your team, those above you, those below you, those next to you. And always looking from a perspective of what can I can control myself, what can I do differently? And how can I manage a situation differently? Because if you start with that, then good things can happen. If you start with where's the problem outside of me, you
Right.
never fix the core problem.
Right. Absolutely.
So those are two of my favorites.
What has there been a lesson that you've learned that was just like a tough lesson learned, like that just took you longer than you would like to admit it took you, but just a tough lesson learned?
How long is this podcast? There's a lot of tough lessons learned. One is you don't get time back. That's a tough one. I think we kind of cruise along, or we get in stages where I won't say they're wasted years, but we're not at our full potential, or we're not putting forth full effort. I think that one, is a tough one. We'll never get years back.
Yeah.
The other tough lesson was that you get rich slowly, and I'm not by any stretch of the imagination rich, but all this overnight stuff that people
Right.
talk about,
Yeah.
that's lightning in a bottle. It just doesn't happen a lot. So, learning that it's a journey, and it's a long journey, and that it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Well, and there's so much so much good can come out of the journey if you allow it. I mean, granted, it's about pivoting and change and all the hurdles that we just expressed, but there's still, that is where the growth, and I want to say magic happens almost. I mean, I've learned to embrace the obstacles through the journey, because it's
Right.
through the obstacles that I've been able to experience the growth.
Right.
Without them, I wouldn't be who I am today.
I agree.
So but I used to think everybody thought the same way I did. And then I've learned that they don't. Not everyone can really rationalize and maybe look at things from more of a philosophical perspective versus just.
Do you find that people, when you say that, do you find that people hit an obstacle and they stop? Or explain that to me.
Yeah. A lot of times, or eventually they'll give up, or a lot of times they don't even start, or just sometimes, but a lot of times they only go so far and then they stop. Had they just kept going, and I think with that, it's not necessarily that person; it's everybody in their head telling them what they should do, and I learned that from experience, and society, families, friends, telling us their opinions based on their experiences of
Right.
where we should be or what we should be doing.
We have this great thing called gut instinct, that, and your inner voice, that will tell you whether people are giving you, are being true to you or not. And I think it's wonderful that you able to kind of understand that inner monologue and that inner voice, because it's easy to get it drowned out by all the other pieces.
And you have to create whatever it works to keep it in. Then whether it's eliminating the negative or the
Right.
people, or you have to eliminate. You have to do whatever you can in order to keep that personal.
We're really unbelievable creatures as human beings. We have unlimited potential. We have the ability to do things. We see it all the time, either physically. I'm blown away. People can climb Mount Everest. You can't breathe up there.
Right.
So
I would
we're
love to just
always-
get to base camp someday. That's kind of on my list of.
I wouldn't be able to get out of this chair. No. But we see this all the time, and people overcoming things, and there's something that draws them to the next step, and there's something that moves them to the next level. And so I'm always amazed that people can listen to that inner dialogue and that voice telling them, keep going, keep moving forward. I wear a never quit bracelet.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Because you really don't know what you can do unless you try it. And then try it again, and then try it again.
Absolutely. I sat down with Jessica Muroff this week, CEO for United Way Suncoast, and just a phenomenal woman. And one of the things that she really was very inspiring, but she sets a goal every year to accomplish something new. And it's something she plans out, and each year she works to achieve that. And I think it's amazing. I'm like, I want to do that. I want to challenge myself and push myself. And I think it's a great idea. And then putting it out there and then making it happen. And she's been doing this now for the last so many years, and it's she's very proud, of being able to accomplish. Yeah, and it's just amazing.
I think the Japanese call it a
we gotta learn from her. Yeah.
And Mushogi.
What is that?
I think the Japanese call it a Mushogi.
What, having like
one thing a year that you do that's really, really challenging and tough that you want to accomplish.
Yeah. And I saw something the other day is like, when did you do something for the first time, or when was the last time you did something for the first time? Just doing something different and overcome. I think we always are going to be, we're not always in our comfort zone doing things, whether it's being on this show today and talking, or whether it's talking in front of groups, or just different things. I think, what is it? They say everything that's worth anything is on the other side of our comfort zone with things, right? So it's always good to push ourselves.
I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah. So what is your definition of success today?
The definition of success is, for me, is, well, this has evolved over time.
Well, so that's why I say today, right?
I was part of the 80s generation, right? It was the me generation. I think it's staying really, really true to your true north.
Yeah.
And following with integrity to an honorable outcome.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. I think a lot of people have trouble finding their true north and figuring out if you're but doing it in the right way. I think you gotta really pursue your true north with a lot of integrity, because that does not go away. We talked about mental health. You want to have problems and not recharging, gain success the wrong way, and you're probably going to have trouble sleeping at night.
Do you have a favorite quote? I have a bunch of them. I never say them right, but I have a bunch.
I have a lot of them. Probably discipline equals freedom.
Okay.
Is my favorite quote. Discipline equals freedom.
I like that. What do you like to do? So what might people be surprised to know about you?
Probably that I'm a white collar redneck. Okay. I enjoy hunting and fishing and being out in the woods or in a canoe. That I'm a white collar redneck.
Okay, we'll go with that. And you like 80s bands or something, or rock bands? No.
Yeah, we were Foghat.
Yeah.
I
learned something new today. That's so funny. What, if you had, you were being a part of different boards, like what advice would you give to somebody that was looking to get involved and being a part of, maybe not even from a board position, but just, getting involved with these communities, maybe leading up to board positions or?
Well, I actually talk to a lot of folks I work with all the time about this. Is one, the goal isn't to be on a board, in my mind. The goal is to help an organization and in turn help yourself. Right. Get that energy back, fuel the fire. So number one is figure out where your talents will work. But also pick something where your talents will work. So I would describe it this way. The intersection of where your passion is, your talents, and something you would enjoy intersect. Because if any of those three aren't there, it's going to feel like work.
Right.
And if you're going to put your heart and soul into it and a lot of time into it, you don't want it to feel like work. You want to enjoy what you're doing. You want to feel good about it. You want to know it's impacting people. You don't want it to just be another obligation. So if you line those things, you're probably going to have a pretty good run.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to add value, which is really, at the end of the day, what you want to do.
Right.
You want to add value. I think the challenge is a lot of people think there's an outcome here, or there's an end game to get on a board or to become a chairman. And it's really not. It's all the little things you do along the way that feed you and feed the other people receiving the benefit. And I say people, it could be dogs, it could be animals, it could be the bay. There's so many areas that people can help out in. And then I would say just start.
Yeah, there's so
Do
many
it.
causes.
Do it.
And really we all have our passions that kind of pull us. So yeah, that's great advice.
And it doesn't have to be a part of an organization as the other part.
Yeah.
There's trash on the side of the road that can be picked up.
Yeah.
And you'll feel better about it.
Yeah. Really just, I guess that key message is just get involved. Take a step and get involved. Thank you
Do
so
something.
much. Yeah.
No, Kelly, my pleasure.
Yeah. It went fast, right?
It
It goes
did.
so fast.
It did.
You are a pleasure to talk with,
Well,
and just
thank
you have
you.
so
Likewise.
much wisdom, I believe, to share. And
Well, thank
thank
you.
you for sharing your experiences and your journey with us today.
Thank
So
you.
I appreciate
It's
it.
a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Definitely check out edgebusinessmagazine.com. Please subscribe. Support a local business. Subscribe, and you'll never miss a future copy of Edge. You can also subscribe to our weekly newsletters. Get involved. Reach out. info@edgebusinessmagazine.com for additional information. If you're looking to potentially be a guest on the show or just to get involved, we'd be happy to hear from you. So again, thank you for taking the time and being with us today. We will see you next week. And in the meantime, never stop dreaming. Thank you.